last year.
Yeah, but you do feel that had we been in different times, maybe the pandemic, they may have lost one of those, whether it was Mane or Salah, Firmino. But the fact is, they're still together, and why would you want them to play any other way? Salah's been involved in the Golden Boot since he's been here. Mane as well been involved in a couple of times. Firmino, I believe, he's one of my favourites, Kels, as you know, should be maybe chipping in with a bit more, with more goals. But when you throw Jota in there as well, it's just it's perfect, because his movement going into the box and whether it's one-on-one going in or movement to get the header like we saw in the game just now is fantastic. So it's all for me about Liverpool's midfield and how they get the ball to them and how they stop Chelsea and get the ball to them, because we know what Liverpool can do when they're breaking.
They're absolutely frightening. And you have to say, when Jota, they signed Jota for that amount of money, obviously a few eyebrows were raised in terms of the fee. But you remember, he started off his career at Liverpool, he was unbelievable. And then he had that injury, which kind of derailed him a little bit. But he's come back this season, he's been ultra sharp. And certainly, as you said there, right, in and around the boxes, his timing to get on the end of things, he just seems to arrive at the right time. But when you throw in Mane and Salah, Mane, who maybe by his standards had a bit of a down season last year, he started off on fire. And then Mo Salah, I think he needs two more to get him, obviously, the 100 club. He's been fantastic ever since he got to Liverpool. So they are so dangerous. And as you said there, if Reece James and certainly Alonso are going to fly forward and you leave the space for Mane and Salah, you're asking for trouble.
Yes.
So what do they do then to counteract that? Do they just... Because that's part of their sort of defensive plan, isn't it? Is for them to get forward, because then they're in the opponent's half.
Well, you look at it, you probably feel like... I'm not sure will Marco Alonso play, even playing that team. They're going to need to be a bit more defensive. And with Ben Chilwell there, the same with Reece James. Is he going to play Aspilicueta out there so they're more defensive, they drop in as a 5? Or is he going to play Reece James, who can still do the same? He could play on the right, or Aspilicueta can play inside on the right of the 3. So it's just the way, for me, Chelsea have to play. They can't play they're not going to play like play against Arsenal away from home. But because they could take liberties with Arsenal because of Arsenal's lack of organisation, they won't do this against Liverpool. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when they drop in, which I think that they will, and then let Liverpool have to play in front of them, and we see how they go if they deny space.
Yeah. It's going to be a really interesting matchup. And Jurgen Klopp's been talking very warmly about Thomas Tuchel in the build-up to this one. And it's all about this kind of development of German managers. So as our German in the studio, I don't want to just throw you there.
We're not just the flavour of the month. I mean, we're where it's at the moment.
Where it's at, baby.
I'm not really part of that, unfortunately. I mean, look, there's a certain bandwagon effect because of what Klopp has done in the Premier League with Liverpool. A lot of people are saying, well, if he's the best German manager, then maybe the second and third best are still pretty good manager. And it has the same effect that Wenger had, where suddenly everyone looked to France to bring in the next Arsene Wenger. That's happening. But there's also something about the way that they do coach that goes down well here. Because, first of all, they're not checkbook managers. They're not going to say, I need this player, I need that player. They're coaches. They know how to work within the resources. They try to maximize what they have. And only if it really have to, like Tuchel, I'm sure, did in the summer and said, look, a centre forward is something I need. Please buy me one. Will they sort of become involved in that? And they believe in process. They believe in structure. They believe in ideas. They believe if you train certain things, you can improve individually and as a team. And you can increase your chances of winning and of not losing. And, as you can see, they're pretty good at what they're doing. Yes. So there might be more coming.
Isn't there a sort of central training unit for developing German managers?
Yeah, I mean, you have to when you do your pro coach, then you go and spend 6 weeks in a university effectively, and you can even stay there overnight. So there's a kind of a structure for that. But I think it's more about the mindset. I think German coaches come from places where they work in complex clubs, where there's usually a sporting director above them. There's an existing coaching staff. They can't come in and do the old school, I'm going to control everything. I'm going to buy and sell every player. I'm going to appoint all the staff. They know how to be flexible and adaptable. And they speak usually good English. They usually work with lots of nationalities. They work with different styles. There isn't just one German style, although the pressing is the basis of everything that's happening. But once you have the ball, they're very different ideas. Tuchel is more a Guardiola type manager in his heart. Klopp is very much bang, bang. But these guys, I think, are attractive to clubs because when it's become so difficult to buy big players that will definitely improve them, if you can find a coach that improves your players, if you can find somebody that makes Andy Robertson from Hull go to Andy Robertson at Liverpool, if you can find somebody that gets so much out of a Chelsea team that they can win the Champions League when nobody thought that it was remotely possible 4 months earlier that they might be in that final, then you're pretty good.
Yeah, it's just all set up so beautifully for all of it. And we talked about those attacking options that they both have. You pointed out quite rightly that it's about Liverpool's midfield choices and how they supply the front three or how they get the ball further up the pitch. What do you think Liverpool do there?
Well, firstly, I think that what I saw against Arsenal, they've got to stop that passage into Lukaku. And I think if they can stop that, or if they do get it into Lukaku, they've got people in and around. So if it comes off of him, which we used to see it if it comes off of him, you want to put him under the kind of pressure that if it comes off of him, then you get somebody who picks it up. Then all of a sudden, with those players that we've been talking about who are coming to support him so as he can flick it off to them, then all of a sudden you pass it through them and you're into Chelsea. And that's not what we've seen yet. So that's for me, a game plan has got to be in and around something like that. You stop that, win the ball at source where you've got maybe if Reece James is flying or if it's going to be Marco Alonso or Chilwell, whoever it's going to be, if they're flying, then you win the ball off of them. All of a sudden, they're out of shape. Too many players gone forward, then Chelsea can hit them on the break. I think that Tuchel is the kind of guy that will probably have a plan for that. But I can see, for me, if I'm Jurgen Klopp, that's the way I see of hurting Liverpool. Hurting Chelsea.
You'd have to say, certainly in a game like this, Kanté is going to be so important because he's going to be so important. I mean, we know obviously how important he is, but if certainly Reece James is going to fly forward and Marcus Alonso, you're going to be asking Kanté to do an awful lot of running, which he will do, to kind of maybe fill in them pieces. So I think he is going to be vital. Certainly if they want to play the way that they have been against Arsenal, as Righty was saying there, they could pretty much do what they wanted. Arsenal just so tactically unaware of what was going on that they just pretty much kept doing the same things. I think Thomas Tuchel won't be like that. So I think certainly with Liverpool, with their front three going forward, Kanté's going to be so important, him and Jorginho, on that kind of double pivot, instead of just picking up little spaces where to stop Liverpool from maybe counter-attacking and going forward.
It's going to be a great game to watch, as you said. There's so many of these big club matchups that over the years have been 0-0s and like real 0-0s as well. Just absolute stalemates. But this one feels like it's got two managers who are going to go for it.
I think they'll go for it.
Sensibly.
Yes, sensibly, in a very German, sort of orderly fashion. Tuchel perhaps more so than Klopp. But no, I think the fact that the way these teams match up will provide lots of entertainment.
Yes, even if it's 0-0. There's so much you can get out of this, Raf.
I think a high-scoring draw is definitely possible. And what will be interesting is that Klopp has sometimes struggled against the back three or back five system because it kind of negates their strengths a little bit. If you can't isolate the fullbacks because there's no fullback, there's a wing back with another centre back behind them, then that power that they often generate on the flanks doesn't go anywhere. They sort of run into this wall of the back five, and then another midfielder comes over, and then there's three people on your two wide players, and it's often struggled against Napoli, for example. I can remember, and there's a couple of others. So cracking that sort of tactical problem, I think, is going to be the most important thing. And for Chelsea, it's if they can do what they did against Man City in the Champions League final, which is to disrupt the build-up, because they managed to take away possession and that rhythm from City. And we saw last year when Liverpool didn't have Van Dijk at the back and were a little bit shaky and didn't have the freshness, when they don't have the rhythm at the back in the build-up, everything else suffers. And suddenly those guys don't have the time to get in the right position up front, and there's a lack of freshness because you know that it might take another 5 minutes before you get on the ball, and you're kind of running around doing a lot of stuff that doesn't really help you. So those, I think, are going to be fascinating, absolutely fascinating battles. And, you know, both have a point to prove because Klopp has a reputation for being all about emotions and motivation stuff, but he is just as tactically detailed as Tuchel. And Tuchel has a reputation for being this tactical genius, but perhaps doesn't quite have the sort of emotional effect on his team. And the truth is in the middle, but you show it by by winning against your nemesis in that respect and by beating your opposite end.
And like we said, only 2 games in. This is going to be the 3rd game of the season for both of these sides. The title is not going to be decided this early on in the season, but will we get a really good understanding of what each team's title chances are in a season where there are going to be lots of strong contenders?
Yes, and like I say, with Liverpool, the only problem they're going to have again is their first 11 magnificent, but if they start getting injuries to certain people, then it's going to cause them a problem. But with Chelsea, like you say, it's not decided, this game, but whoever wins this game will feel buoyed by it. You know what I mean? Because they'll take a lot from it because of how good the other team is. So I think it's one that if I was playing in either of these teams and my team won, I'd feel good simply because I know that we've beaten a team that's a contender. And then it would depend on the fashion in which we've beaten them. Did we dominate them? Did we completely stop them? Did we do what we needed to do? Were we clinical? And then you take from that, then any other team that's coming, apart from like the top guys, you're very confident in beating them.
It's going to be good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a blockbuster clash, 2 big heavyweight clashes. It's going to be good. Whoever wins it, give them maximum confidence.
Darren, Rafa, thank you very much for coming in to join us. Not next week, week after for us. The programme will be back next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. So we'll have lots of time to digest that game between Liverpool and Chelsea. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time when we'll be looking forward to another round of Premier League matches. For now, though, from all of us, bye-bye.